Hey, what is going on, Walk-Ins? Welcome, family. It's Nick and Michael here for another Wednesday drop of our episode. You're listening to Walk-Ins. Welcome. Michael, what's up, my friend?
Still in shorts. It's still hot.
Yeah,
I think
I need
the
that to
weather
change.
we had the faux fall happen already. So like last week was nice.
Now, I have gotten a good fair amount of time in the plane lately for those who listen.
Oh yeah, well
I've had a chance.
for the pilots out there,
Yeah.
talk about where you are in your training.
Yeah, so, okay. I'm three, little over going on 3.5 years of training, or at least being a pilot.
Yeah.
I have my private pilot certificate, and I'm almost done with my instrument rating, which for those uninitiated, that just means I'm gonna be able to fly in the clouds. That doesn't mean
Legally.
that is not permission to do stupid things. So
No.
if there's thunderstorms, like what we ran into, we were coming
Yeah.
back from Miami that one time, I don't care what kind of rating you have, you get out of that.
Yeah, and we did.
Yeah, and we did. Almost didn't. That's for another story.
Yeah, exactly.
Another time. But I wanted to talk a little bit today, Michael. This is going to be an unscripted podcast. So if you like unscripted podcasts, this is going to be the one for you because it's conversation.
And then we'll just watch our listeners dip
right.
real hard after this. But no, it says unscripted. But at the end of the day, we have things on this table.
We do, and I'm looking forward to showing them to you. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit is just one of the things that I do with our team here is I'm constantly putting in front of them our mission, vision, and values.
There.
Okay. And I try and open up, I botch it all the time, but I try and say it right. Every time we open this podcast, we talk about how we want to help you get more patients.
Yep.
We want to help you deliver better care. We want to help you get repeat visits, and we want to help you scale your clinic to essentially to a $3 million clinic before you have to start making different decisions like hiring new doctors or opening up new locations. So I just really wanted to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah.
Michael, you're in the background all the time. So if I were going to, just kind of talk about a deeper level of how do we help people get more patients, specifically through listening to the podcast, but also ancillary through Patient Care Marketing Pros.
Right.
Let's talk about how do we get new patients for people?
So from our world, and we even price things around this, but at the bare minimum, like if you do something right this second, it would be Google Ads.
Right.
Google Ads.
That's step one.
It is we say it's step one because it's quick results. It works. It's controlled results. So like you can turn budgets up and down, and you can make a pretty big impact on your clinic pretty easily. We've now had multiple clinics that went from this is not good to this is fantastic just with Google Ads. Like it's not like we thought it was just an anomaly the first time it happened, but then it happened like 2 or 3 times after that. We're like, oh, I guess like the impact, because we can only see so much because we can't see all the data from the patient side, but the impact is I want to say immediate. More like if we kicked off your ad campaign today, within 3 to 4 days, you would start to feel the difference.
Absolutely.
Within about a month, you're like, okay, that was a good month.
That was very impactful.
Yeah.
After 30 days, you're very impactful. After 90 days,
Yeah.
You want to talk about being off to the races. Those are game-changing things that happen whenever you start advertising that way on Google.
And speaking of 90 days, so like I guess it's really a 60-day thing. So we even now we're working on a new resource kit for you guys. For those who are considering doing you haven't started your urgent care, but you're considering it, we're putting together a guide that will actually basically tell you how we do this. Because we've now had multiple startup urgent cares work with us, and we got them from 0 to 20 to 30 to 40 patients a day in a pretty rapid pace. And now they're just looking. Now we even have one of our originals where they're just like, we're at capacity and we're trying to decide what to do next.
Talking about out in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have one of our newer ones.
Shout out to Jace.
And we've had a newer one that's like, I'm already hitting that button of like, okay, I need to figure out what's happening next. Like, anyway, so we decided, because we've noticed that a lot of the people that engage with us, like they're considering starting an urgent care, or they just started one, or they're like, yeah, I'm getting like 10 or 20 patients a day, but I don't know what I'm doing. And so we're working on this little package to give you, it's a giveaway. It's not like you got to buy this thing, but it's something that's like, here's our game plan. And if you actually implement it correctly, it will work. But if you don't have time, this is what we do all the time. So, but yeah, so going back, step 1, Google Ads. Step 2 is SEO, assuming you have a good website. Because
And what is SEO?
So search engine optimization, which is the organic side of Google. It's not the paid side, but the side that shows up in the map 3-pack. It's the side that shows right below the map. It is ultimately like, how are my rankings? That's an SEO question.
Right.
But if you have a terrible website or a non-existent one, SEO can't really start yet because it has to go somewhere. If it goes somewhere, it needs to go somewhere that has a good conversion on it. Which, what does that mean? Is it easy to do business with you? How, like, can I, in the patient care world, can I click book now an appointment or call you within one click? That's where expectation. Now, if you're multi-location, 2 to 3 clicks is okay. But
Yeah,
after
you got to
that,
pick the right location.
yeah,
We don't think you need 20 websites for 20 locations. You need one hub.
one hub with location pages all day long. I was literally working on a site today that had 11 locations, and we were building out location content for each location because that's something you do in the SEO world.
For sure.
And I was up to like 70 pages I was adding content for. Like, it was just part of the game that we play, but it is something required. But
Well, I mean, and just a little extra on that one note, he's not just talking about the location pages. Like, if we use the word urgent care, I'm going to use Alabama because that's where we are.
Yeah.
So if I say urgent care Birmingham, well, I'll also have to have one for Hoover, one for Chelsea, one for Pelham.
And whatever you're
the
serving.
urgent care keyword plus the city, the geo modifier.
Yep.
That content has to be rewritten. It can't be the same thing.
Yep.
Anyway, that's just SEO foundations. But keep going with that.
Yeah,
though.
so you have SEO, assuming you have a good website. If you don't, you need to build that. We're WordPress people. We're not saying that WordPress is the only option. It's just the preferred option. We even had a conversation this morning with a guy that does Webflow, and we're not fans of Webflow for lots of reasons. And he confirmed, like, from an SEO standpoint, it's kind of a disaster.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Really pretty.
It's like Flash of 2020 or something. Like, it's beautiful. Designers like it. SEO is kind of hard. Anyway, so you have that. So you've checked off Google Ads, you've checked off your SEO, you checked off your website. Hopefully you have good review management kicked in at this point where you're actively garnishing reviews, which we have actually
Hold it up.
a little guy right here. So if you're watching, I'm holding it right up to the screen. So this is a review card.
The brand would be Zappy Card. This particular one we got off of Temu.
Yeah, exactly. So let's be real honest. So Zappy Card is like the original brand of
That's
these.
fantastic, yeah.
And so what it is, it's an NFC chip embedded into a piece of plastic.
Right.
And it's got the branding, leave us a tap for a Google review type thing. And so Zappy Card's a good option. It's just priced, right? So if you go to Temu, it's like a tenth of the price. But at the same time, I think Zappy had a nicer look, but we really like these white ones. I'm impressed.
So I was in one of our clients' office 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 weeks ago. And they had Zappy cards. And I'm clued in to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And I was looking, she had 4 or 5 of them all over her clinic.
Yeah.
But they were so
Tiny.
like, they just didn't make sense.
They didn't stand out.
Well, they didn't stand out. And you would think black full of a white office, it would have stood out. And then I saw this and I'm like, that stands out way better.
Yeah.
Now I still like Zappy Card. And if it starts to come in white, we'll start buying white ones. But I was just thinking for a clinic, these white ones, you can get them on Temu. But anyway, keep going with that thought.
Yeah, if you're not afraid of Temu, you can get them on Temu.
Nothing to be afraid of. You're out $4.
Yeah, it's like a $6 purchase here. And then they even have a little tiny sticker, NFC stickers that says leave us a review in Google. So you can like stick them everywhere. Anyway, so this is just one active way that you can get reviews. Your software, your EMR software, whatever you're using to capture patient information, like a Solve or whatever. Generally, they have now some type of review management built in there where they can send off a text. I've seen some now that have AI responders that can respond to a review, all the things. So that's part of the SEO piece. So if you're checking off all of these boxes up to this point, the next thing to go into is social. So social, we designed social to be one of the last options you pick because you got to get the first 2 right.
Yeah.
Because
100% on board with that.
Yeah, because social is like the cherry on the top. So we rarely see social being the number 1 leader for your lead count, but it does add to your lead count. So generally speaking, when we say social, we're like saying running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads themselves.
Now that's for the traditional urgent care. I do want to add the caveat to that if you're running weight loss or if you're doing injectables or
add-on services
you're
that aren't
doing,
sickness related.
Yeah, or even like Achmed. So LinkedIn is a great place to run ads for Achmed and to target business owners. There's a place for social media. We're just talking like specifically with urgent care, but when you start trickling into some of these ancillary services, running paid ads on social media platforms for people that don't already know you offer that is actually a really good place for that.
Yeah. So now, if you're just an urgent care that just does sickness, like you're treating ailments and illnesses, it's more of a branding move where people are being exposed to it. We still see conversions happening off of it, just not as much. And that's the reason why we even say, like, let's get your first 2 buckets full, and then we'll look at this 3rd bucket. And then the last bit of that is social posting. Now, we offer social posting, but we also say if you have somebody internally that can figure this out, the organic internal posting usually looks really good. Better engagement typically. Because at the end of the day, if you're not feeding us things, we're posting things about the industry and what we've been given or seen on your site, but there's some limiting factors there. So that's how we view it at the end of the day. And what does that all mean? What does that translate into? So if you're just running Google Ads and you're running a $2,000 or $3,000 ad spend budget, you're probably getting 100+ leads a month minimum.
Should be.
Yeah, like really and truly, because our lead cost, let's just break it out to you. Our standard for a lead for an actual conversion cost is below $10 now. Like it used to be below 20. Now we're moving toward 10. Like that's our new standard we're pushing into right now in the Google ad space. So just run math. Like we're always about running some math around here because at the end of the day, math kind of tells you if it's a good idea or a bad idea.
Sure.
And in this scenario, if it's costing you $10 a conversion and you are getting a pretty high, we know in the urgent care space that the conversion rate is pretty high because they're basically ready to go. They just need to make sure you're open and you can do whatever they need you to do. So we'll say the conversion rate is probably like 80% or 75%, high. And so 7 or 8 out of 10 of those that you just paid $10 each. So you paid $100 and you got 8 patients in your door. That's the mindset behind it. So if you had $1,000, that's probably like 80 patients possibly. That's why we say, if you're running $2 or $3 grand a month in ad spend on Google Ads, you should be getting at least 100 patients a month off of it.
And that is getting new patients.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the formula on the digital side. Obviously, there's some other things that we talk about. But as we get new patients through the door, we need to deliver on our promise to give good care. And we want to help you deliver better care.
Yeah.
So part of our mission here at Walk-Ins Welcome is to help you do that. So we've tried to bring on people that are going to help you be HIPAA compliant. And we'll talk more about that in the future, especially with Ron.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're HIPAA compliant, making sure that you have review systems in place to get that feedback. Making sure that you understand that front desk advantage, and there's episodes that you can go back and reference to talk about, put a smile on, answer the phone with a smile, answer the phone. Right.
Please. I'm not going to lie. Okay. So I've been trying to reach out to some certain urgent cares. We sent you guys some cookies and all things. There were 2 urgent cares that would not talk to me. They kept hanging the phone up on me.
Right. 2
of them. And they're in Texas. So if you're in Texas, you might be one of them. But literally I would call, I would hear you go click, click. Yep. And I was like, well, maybe they just messed up. Call in, click, click. And like, you don't know who I am. Yeah. You literally could be hanging up on some lead that your boss paid for.
That's right.
Please stop doing that. Please answer. I don't care how busy you are. If you're so busy you can't answer the phone, get a call center.
Get a call center or an answering
something.
Service.
Come on.
For sure. And I know you want to filter us out of your conversation. I get that. But
we know who I was.
But when you don't know them at all, that's where you just go, I'm not interested, and hang up, right?
Yeah, like, at least say hello.
But we want to help you deliver better care, and so we try and bring on other urgent cares that are out there doing really good work in their space. Mercy Urgent Care comes to mind, the AFCs that have been a part of our show. And we want to encourage you to go back and listen to those episodes and how they're delivering care that stands out. Okay. The next thing is repeat visits. Yeah. Right. So repeat visits. You don't just want a one-time patient. You want a multi-time patient, and then you want their family too. And we did a it's one of my favorite episodes. It may not be the most popular, but it was one of my favorites. And it's called the Patient Care Power Move.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that was the name of it. And it was simply just always book a meeting from a meeting and taking cues from like a dental office that we talked about.
Hands you the card
last week or maybe the week before.
You make the assumptive sale.
Assumptive sale, right? Like come back, right? But we want to help you get repeat visits. Now, you brought up social media. Yeah. Okay. So one of the digital strategies for social media is our retargeting.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So if you have
Let's
patients-
explain it, right?
Yeah. So if you have patients that are visiting your website, if you have patients that are doing business with you, you have access to that first party data. Well, you can retarget them and people that look like them on social media without violating HIPAA.
Yeah, because when we say retarget patients, we're talking about people that visit your website.
Yeah.
We cannot and will not retarget people who go into your patient portal.
No, ever.
No,
that is a blatant
if
violation of
somebody sells that to you, I can retarget your patient base. You got to put a lot of questions to that. Where you get so for us, when we say retarget, like they went to Nick's Healthcare or nicksurgentcare.com, and we can see that that's perfectly fine data because they're not entering data anywhere on that site. They're going third party the second they want to put information on that site. And so like we're seeing those people, and they could be patients. Most of them probably would be to a certain degree, or potential patients. And so, but the nice thing is, because we have the pixels and things like that from Facebook, it can now capture that information.
Yep.
And it's not being super creepy. Now, we can't tell you exactly what Facebook's doing because we don't really know what Facebook's up to, but we just know that all the platforms know a whole lot more about you than you know about yourself.
Yeah, Facebook doesn't know what Facebook's up to.
No, they don't.
but we want you to be able to get those repeat visits also through booking meetings from a meeting. We've talked about that.
Yep.
If somebody came in and they're sick, the best thing that you could do is have your front desk person, the doctor wants to see you next week. Can you come in on Monday or Wednesday?
Yeah, and just get it into their calendar.
I mean, they can say, no, I'm not coming back, but that's another copay, another reason to genuinely deliver good care.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a money grab, but you will make money. And that's what we want you to do. It is retail healthcare, and it's called that for a reason.
Yeah, you know, and we've talked about the ancillary services that do require comebacks, right? So like the weight loss clinic type things or IV therapy, things that like, coming once isn't going to cut it. You got to come back 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 times.
Yes.
So like
that's those repeat visits.
Yeah,
man.
and recurring business is a wonderful thing, and it's and I will say, like we've talked about this, urgent cares have a struggle with that piece of the puzzle because there's no brand loyalty in this industry. Like
no, there's not.
There's just not. Like, and I think urgent cares recognize that mostly. We have quite a few. Like they all do the red letter urgent care.
They don't even care about the brand of the name so much as they do just want you to know that you can see them from the road.
Yeah, like there's one turn. I was even having a conversation with the UCA people because they're doing potential PR stuff in the future, and part of the plan that they had sent me, I was like, I don't think people have a misunderstanding of what urgent cares are anymore.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, I know. And it's like, okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page.
We're not the only ones. Good.
Yeah. So what's happening is, so this is a product life cycle situation on this industry. So it was in growth or startup mode. And that was probably 30 years ago. Like the idea, the word urgent care is probably about 30 years old, at least in this country. And 15 years ago, it went into growth mode where not only was your AFC around, but there were lots of options for urgent cares. And now we're hitting maturity mode where people know what it is. They're not confused by it. And then there's a lot of players now. There's no more early adopter advantages anymore.
Right.
So now it's just like, this is like a good model. Let's go after it. So,
well, that takes us to our final piece of it, which is to help you scale your clinic. So if you're getting new patients through the door, and you're hitting those revenue numbers of average between anywhere between 170, 220, depending on where you're located per patient.
Yeah.
And you're delivering good care that gives you repeat business for a multitude of reasons. They keep coming back and bringing people with them, right? Then you're going to get into a position where you're doing 60 patients plus a day.
Yep.
And that gives you options. Add more services, add more doctors, add more locations. Now you're going into scalability for your clinic.
Yep.
And ultimately, I think everybody that listens to this podcast, I think you're either in a startup mode, you're in a growth mode. Maybe you're looking to be into a growth mode. Maybe you've stalled out a little bit.
You've hit a plateau.
Or you're looking for the next direction you need to take your clinic. Is it more services? Is it more doctors? Is it more locations? Is it all the above, right? How do we increase our revenue? Again, I'm going to fall back to retail healthcare. This isn't your hospital. You're in this, and in my opinion, part of your main reason should be to turn a profit, right? It is a business. You got into urgent care, dental, chiropractor, you name it. You got in it ultimately because you want to feed your family and grow, right? And that's part of what this podcast is all about. We want to help you scale your clinic. We also want to scale ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought this here. And I wanted to talk about some things that are coming up. We have the symposium that's in a couple of weeks. We're going to be
2
in
weeks.
Nashville. If you're listening to this podcast and you're going to be at the Solve Symposium that's coming up,
Yep.
the marketing symposium, I'd love to say hello to you.
Yeah.
So would Michael. We're going to be up there hanging out.
We're going. We sponsored the cocktail.
That
thing.
or the DJ, one of the two.
It's by a DJ booth. That's all we know.
Right.
And then when we're showing up just to chat with people. April's been super kind to us through that whole process. So we love April from Solve Group. But yeah, I mean, we'll be there end of September, 1st of October.
Yep.
Is it 3 days or something?
Yeah, it's coming up, and you're either going or you're not. You know if you're going.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Southeast Regional Urgent Care Association.
Saruka's coming up, and
Talk
that's
about that for a second.
toward was it October 24th?
Yeah, it's near the end of October.
And it's in Atlanta.
Yep.
So this will actually be the first time we're sending our team and not ourselves.
Yeah, you're going to get to meet some really cool ladies, though.
Yeah, it's all ladies.
I was going
which
to say,
is
you're
fun.
going to you hear us talk about Hannah all the time. You've met Grace if you've watched any of our episodes.
Yeah, Grace has been on.
And Kelsey's our newest team member.
Yeah, Kelsey's awesome.
And
which I do have a funny with Kelsey. So as a company, as a culture here, so we're a very 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Weekends we do not touch, right? And so
unless we absolutely have to.
yeah, like and it's rare. And so like part of our pitch to any new hires, like, hey, we respect your schedules. If it's 5:01 p.m., you're not being contacted. If your client's lighting you up, you're okay to say go to the next day or whatever. Like unless it's a true emergency. But it was funny to me because when we decided that like we're not going to this event, we're going to have our team go, and it's like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing. And I went to Kelsey. I said, Kelsey, I lied to you. She said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to ask you to work on a Saturday. She's like, oh, okay. And then we explained. She said, oh, it's fine. She came from an event space where she was working every weekend of her entire life until 4 a.m. every weekend. And so she was like, okay, I don't really.
Well, technically, her and Hannah could have just, or Hannah and Grace could have just gone. But that's another story. That's not for this. We're going to be at the Saruka conference in Atlanta at the end of October. Again, I want to invite you. Come talk to us. Come hang out with us. We want to meet you. Our team wants to meet you there. You won't see us in person there, but you're definitely going to want to meet. Actually, if I'm being fair, they're probably more interesting than me. Like
less salesy too.
That's what I mean. Like arguably, you're going to have a really good experience talking to one of those ladies because they're just genuine, all personality.
Especially Hannah.
Yeah,
she'll just tell you how it is.
She's our ray of sunshine.
And she edits this episode.
Heather adds expletives. My wife adds expletives to that, or ray of effing sunshine.
There you go.
I'll leave it at that, but it's hilarious because she is just all personality. All right, and again, in the spirit of scale, we're going to be trying something new. This has never been a salesy podcast, and that's not our goal to ever become that. However, and no, I'm not going to sell you right now. However, we are looking to bring on a new sponsor to the podcast.
Yeah.
And the only reason I mention that now is because I wanted to say this before they became a part of the show so that I'm not pitching them before they come onto the show or when they come on the show.
Gotcha.
It sounds salesy, right? What I want to say is like, we know this person, we know their product. We believe it's going to genuinely help you.
And they've been on the show.
They've been on the show a couple
twice.
of times. Yep. They've been on the show a couple of times talking and trying to serve this community as well. And it just made sense for us to bring somebody like that on to get in front of you regularly because it's really going to be a good benefit to your clinic.
Yeah,
so
they brought a product to us last week.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh,
we got to get that on the podcast. That's going to serve people.
Like this will actually solve a
Yeah.
lot of problems. Because we even had an urgent care that is no longer a client because they broke HIPAA and literally said, I wish they met you guys last year.
Yeah, right.
Because it would have solved this problem.
And I'm so glad we weren't a part of that conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Nonetheless, I wanted to lay that up before they actually sponsored the program, like formally, because I didn't want to get on there on that episode and be like, here's why we brought them in. And everybody goes, oh, yeah, it's right. They're paying you to do that. Well, technically speaking, we're not taking $1 for it. That's how much we care about them being on the podcast.
Yeah, and that did that because their impact. So like while we impact the growth of your revenue, they impact the protection of your revenue.
Right.
Essentially.
So it is not a money grab for us at all. And I wanted to lay that up. The last thing from a more selfish perspective is we are continuing to see growth on this podcast. And I want to first thank you for that.
Thank you for subscribing.
Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. And if you hadn't, hadn't subscribed yet,
please hit that button.
smash that subscribe.
Smash that subscribe. I feel like, is that like a fad now?
I think it's over now, and I'm way late to the game on that. But it used to be like they'd be
Smash that button.
mid-sentence, and before I tell you about this next thing, smash that. Anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
so, but we do want you to
But
subscribe.
you're doing
to
it now, so we're
Yeah.
totally cool with that.
We're getting good feedback on YouTube, and we want to continue to grow that channel. That's the best place, in my opinion, to consume this content because you get to see and hang out with
And
us.
we have unique content on YouTube that's not on this podcast.
Correct.
We've now put out 5 or 6 videos that's all about training you guys, like actual training videos. If you're going to do this, do that. If you're going to pursue something as a DIY on your business, here's the best practice. This is what we tell you to do.
Right.
So it's not just me. It's not just Nick. We have Philip on there. We have Devin on there. I think Kenna's on there or will be. So we have layers of people on there now. So it's not just the same people talking. And it's a full-blown screen share video. And shout out to Janie and her editing skills and bringing that.
Yeah, she's so good.
Janie's been our most recent hires, and her video editing is on point. Social's great too, but we've been really impressed with her video.
So because I'm focused on growing the YouTube channel, well, one, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you again. Subscribe to the channel and leave us a review. Really, really value that. But if we already did this for leaving a review. This is going to be a little different. Here's what I'm at. Here's my ask, and I'll give you something for it. All right. My ask is, one, subscribe when you see this video on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to leave a comment saying subscribed, and then whatever comment, you guys suck, I don't like you anymore, and die in a fire, or we love you and we appreciate you, or hey, thanks. Right. Anything you want to say. All right, if you will do that and screenshot it and email it to hello@patientcaremarketingpros.com, hello@patientcaremarketingpros.com, just do your screenshot. We're going to give you a tent, a Bot the Marketer sticker, because those are fun, a syringe pen, because that'll mail real well in the mail. Anyway, it's a pen, not a syringe.
As long as it's not Germex, we're fine.
Right. A Patient Care Marketing Pro shirt.
You have to tell us your size.
Yep, you have to tell us your size whenever you do the picture. And then I'll send you a copy of my book. It's called Walk-ins Welcome. Shocker.
Shock and all.
And the shocking turn of events to absolutely no one. I wrote a book called Walk-ins Welcome that says triple your patient volume through digital marketing services. I'll put that in your hand as well, because that really just our number one source of getting new business is this podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And y'all do business with us, and we appreciate you, and we want more of you because we like doing business with the urgent care space. So I'm not going to keep rambling here. Michael, any final thoughts, and then I'll take us out.
So other than simply supply is limited, legitimately.
How about I say this? 10 comments.
Yeah, 10 is about as much as we have in product right now to give. Also, too, so we've just kicked off a LinkedIn group as well. We have a Facebook group. You guys
I forgot about that.
You guys are engaging on it, but due to some suggestions to us, we've now kicked off a LinkedIn group as well. We'll see how it goes. Similar content, not gonna lie, but the goal is that we're seeing more doctors on LinkedIn and Facebook from an engagement standpoint.
Right.
So it just made sense to pick up that group, and so we just spun it off. So if you're listening to this episode, it may be only like a week or two old in terms of growth. So, but we're going to be sending out some invites, and hopefully you can come on there. I'd love to see you out there. Love that. Please ask questions in the group because we're there to help each other. We're not here to sell you. So love to see you on that.
Awesome. Thank you for listening. Appreciate y'all chiming in as always. Leave us those reviews. Leave us those comments. Give us that feedback so we can continue to make this a amazing and getting better every episode podcast for you.
All right. See
All
y'all.
right. Have a great week.